Greetings and welcome back to yet another daily run, and today we are playing as Kane. Kane is a very interesting character in my opinion, because he does have some unique properties that other characters don't have. One of the most obvious ones is that he starts out with a key, and that key actually gives you a nice boost, especially early on when you're trying to enter those rooms, treasure rooms, shops, libraries, things like that. And having that extra key is just such a tremendous help sometimes, especially when RNG isn't too friendly to you and doesn't give you consumables. Having that key just really sets you up for a nice run, most of the time. He also starts out with a higher base damage than most characters, which is just great because it allows you to one-shot some enemies instead of two-shotting them. And one-shotting some enemies on earlier floors is a very big help because it does allow you to make things go a little bit smoother, things go a bit faster, and you have less risk of taking damage. So it's always a nice welcome thing and change to see whenever a starting character can actually deal with some enemies in one shot instead of two. Our first item contained money equals power, which is a pretty good item. Just in general, but I chose not to take it for one reason and one reason only. It had a reroll machine next to it, and if it has a reroll machine, that means we can potentially use it to get a better item out of it. So that's the reason why I kind of didn't pick it up immediately, just kind of checking out if the floor has something interesting to pick up. Maybe we get more coins or bombs that we can use to reroll. Basically I'm just kind of leaving my options open, seeing what the floor kind of gives us, and then making our decisions from there to kind of make it as optimal as possible. That's just always a great advice, especially in dailies. If you want to optimize your run, just kind of do your floor without picking up stuff or just doing anything, and then just at the end of the floor, when you're for sure that you've seen explored everything you can, then kind of go back and do things in an optimal order. Getting that money equals power, and we find the blood bank immediately, which gives us a few extra coins to increase our damage. And Sacrificial Dagger is also a great thing because not only does it give us even more offensive capabilities than just the increased damage, it also gives us some defensive capabilities, kind of protects us from sloppy play, blocks some tears sometimes, if you're in an unfortunate situation at an unfortunate time. And in this situation it also helps us to kind of kill enemies that kind of go near us. It's just overall a great item to have in any situation. Sometimes, of course, I won't pick it up based on the climate of the run, but in this situation, it's just so early on. It's just a great benefit and tool to deal with things so much faster. Like in this situation, I actually use it to kind of one-shot Haunt in less than 5 seconds, and it turns out so well because you don't have to deal with his silly spider attacks. And it's just a sight. It's a really sight to be seen whenever you can kill a boss in less than 5 seconds. I would always recommend doing it if you can. I mean, using Sacrificial Dagger offensively, of course, if you know how to, and just how fast it moves, and you can abuse it in a way that gives you this benefit. It really does have some really nice capabilities of dealing with enemies in just the greatest kinds of ways. Because we did have a golden bomb, it's kind of our due diligence to go through the floor and blow everything up we can, find all the secret rooms, destroy all the arcades, destroy all the rocks and the pods to get as much coins as possible, to increase our damage as much as possible, and also just increase our overall score as much as possible. Golden bombs are just a nice addition in Afterbirth, especially with the daily runs you can do so much with them. This room I just wanted to showcase, if you step on a bomb, on a button, and enemies spawn, it's just always a good idea to exit and don't return back in. Then return back in, don't stay in there, that's what I meant. Because even if you kill those enemies, you're not gonna get any extra points, so there's really no reason to fight them if, of course, you can escape the room. Sometimes they spawn and block you, so you can exit the room, but most of the time, you can actually just go out and go back in without a problem. They disappear, and things are well, you don't have to deal with them one bit. We find the blank card, which is one of the best items you can hope for in a daily, especially with the AWAD's rune, which allows you to go to the next floor, and blank card just allows you to use that rune again and again and again, which means we can go so far, especially on a daily that only goes to mom. Finding a shovel or this combination is just something that you really need to look out for if you want to get a lot of score. This basically allows us to visit 3 more floors, which is just such an immense amount of points that anyone who doesn't do it is at such a disadvantage that they will never be able to catch up to those that actually did find this combo. Thankfully, you know, we did find it, and we're still kind of using it, trying to find crawl spaces on these floors, and on later floors, of course, we'll be using it to explore more rooms, to fight more bosses, get more points, coins, stuff like that. The second secret room comes up so often, and I like its design just because it has so much going on for it. When you enter it, it has those red fires that you have to deal with first, and then you can kind of push the stone chests next to TNT barrels and blow them up. It's just such a fun dynamic, I think, that I would feel like I would be doing it a disservice if I didn't show it at least once. So yeah, definitely a good, nice, balanced second secret room that always feels rewarding, even if you don't get anything too good out of it. It's also kind of another reason why I played the blood bag on the previous floor, the ivy bag, so much is because, of course, first we want the money so we get increased damage from money equals power. But also, what we want to do is just get a lot more money so we can afford to spend it on shops and hopefully get items which will increase our visibility of the map, maybe allow us to get more consumables, get runes, things like that. Just in general, item shops have a lot of items that increase your score in a daily run. I'll help you increase or optimize your daily run in a way. I didn't pick Ludovico technique here at first because I was kind of debating with myself. I really love the item and I almost never not take it unless my run super sucks. And in this situation I was kind of iffy if I should take it. Then I fight Bloat, and if we had the Ludovico technique it would be so great because we would be able to kind of kill him without ever getting in danger ourselves. This way, when you don't have Ludovico technique and he jumps up and down, you're kind of forced into these situations where he's gonna hit you no matter what. Like in this situation, you can't even dodge because there's an eye and creep and enemies, and we do get hit a few times, but I would have been so much happier if we did actually have Ludovico technique in this situation. So getting Whore of Babylon here is a great help because it does increase our damage. If of course we find a way to trade our last heart away, and we do. I just kind of use that book of Necronomicon to trade our heart away, so we do get that damage boost, and that kind of pushes me over to picking Ludovico. I felt like getting some extra damage is just useful, and it works out so well, at least early on. We just kill enemies so fast, and rooms are small. Things just go smoothly as butter. Ludovico technique is just a great defensive item, especially if you have flight. It really allows you to kind of get enemies and kill them without ever endangering yourself. And with some enemies, you can just kind of leave it at stationary and just move yourself around and just focus on dodging. And if you have Brimstone, you know, you just get a circle of death, and that's always great. Also, it works against Mom rather well because you can use your sacrificial dagger whenever Mom stomps her foot down. Then you kind of go near it because it doesn't have contact damage, and you can use your tear to place it at one of the doors and then kind of deal a little bit of extra damage. I use the AOS rune outside, well, the blank art with AOS rune, just because I don't want to nestle it inside and then accidentally fall into it. It happened a few times, and I just kind of can't. It's just a little thing not to have to worry about the hole, especially because this boss rush room layout is very kind of cramped and it's hard to dodge around. It's just a good idea to place it outside because you can always return to Mom after you're finished with boss rush and you can accidentally fall into a hole. Sadly, however, Ludovico technique, while I praise it and it's a very fun item to use, at least in my opinion, it's just not very good in boss rush because the room is so huge. And the huge room just works at such a disadvantage because you lose your tier so often, and in this situation just ends up costing us the run. We just die. And yeah, I mean, we finished at 700th place, and that's not very good. But what I did actually is went into practice mode, and I basically picked up the same items. I actually found Head of the Keeper as well, and the Wafer, which I didn't find the previous run, and that just helped us pushed up the run further. And I didn't take Ludovico because, you know, it cost us the run before. I felt it would be kind of silly to take the same mistake again. But at the same time, it really worked out well because our run is so strong at this point. Now I see that taking Ludovico was a bit of a mistake, just because of boss rush. Boss rush is just such a hard room to deal with Ludovico if you don't have a ridiculously high shot speed, which allows you, of course, to navigate your tier a lot better than if you don't have it. But other than that, this run was actually very good, and it's just one of those things where you kind of don't know what's a good pick and what's not. For example, if you survive with Ludovico until this floor, with the picked up Brimstone, which is just a great combination. It gives you like a giant circle of death that really allows you to kill enemies super fast. But sadly, as it turned out, we weren't able to make that a reality, because, you know, we did have low starting HP in boss rush, and that Ludovico, maybe I'm not used to it because I didn't play with it often enough. You know, just overall, you know, things happen sometimes. You know, it's still a game. You kind of play to have fun first and then kind of to compete later. But next time, certainly we'll be kind of on the more of the lookout and be a bit more passive about taking items like that. Because this is the last floor where AWAS is still useful, I decided to use it once just to have a crawl space to, well, not a crawl space, a room to the next floor. And then I pick up Dice Shard, which will thankfully or hopefully give us some more increased points. I know this is a practice run and getting points here doesn't really matter, but I'm still trying to exercise good play and kind of show you just good things you can do. Dice Shard kind of with the blank card works similar to D20, which allows us, of course, to transform consumables into different consumables, even chests, and then you open chests, you get more consumables, and then when you open chests, and then reroll those consumables into even more chests, hopefully, and then you get even more consumables. So thankfully, we do have that wafer, which means we can get a half-heart interval, and a half-heart interval actually allows us to trigger our Polaroid, which gives us a 4-second or so shield, which then allows us to play both the Devil Beggar and the Blood Bank. The Blood Bank, of course, spawns just a ton of coins, which we can use to spawn coins, and then of course transform them into chests and into more consumables and get even more points. But sadly, it kind of turned out badly because it blew itself up and then a spider attacked me. And overall, I don't think it was worth it. The idea was right, definitely, but just kind of unfortunate combination of free rolls just put us into this position where things didn't turn out too well for us. Of course, you see how strong this round would have been if it actually did persist and if it didn't pick up Ludovico technique. So if this is not a testament, I don't want you to take this as a testament to that Ludovico technique is bad, because I think it's not a bad item at all. It just, like most items in Isaac, it's a very situational as to which enemies you encounter and which bosses you encounter, because against some bosses it's a very good item. Against some, you know, like the Death is just not a very good item, because he does have a lot of sights and things to spawn. And of course that combined with us having like 3 Spirit Hearts when we entered boss rush, it's just not an optimal situation for us. And it, you know, what happened. We can't expect every single daily run to go super well for us, especially if, you know, we're kind of experimenting, trying to pick up items that are good for us. You can see what I was talking about kind of in play here. We reroll into more chests, and when we open chests, we get more consumables that we can reroll later, but sadly we kind of used up all our rerolls already. There was certainly, I think there was a better way to do this. For some reason I just didn't have enough charges, and I didn't get enough batteries to where I could benefit from it further. We still got a lot of consumables, I feel, as to relative as to just how far the run went. And overall, I feel it was a good run, you know. Of course, like that little blunder was like a mistake, sort of, and that's what I was kind of thinking, you know, if you have 2 hearts, if you have 1 heart, doesn't really matter that much. Because if you do get up and hit twice, you will probably end up getting hit 4 times. And that actually concludes the run for today. We just killed Satan's hooves here, and we're on our merry way to exit and kind of see how well we did in practice. It doesn't tell you the rank, but I checked, and if you did go with the practice run, we would have actually achieved about 30th rank, but as it is, we achieved about 700th rank. I thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.